day, I'm Lisa Rowe and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, June 12, 2024. As the country continues its transition to a republic state, the Constitutional Reform Committee has proposed citizenship criteria for the appointment of a president. Minister of Legal and Constitutional Affairs Marlene Malahoo Fort made the revelation during her contribution to the sectoral debate in Parliament on Tuesday. The recommendation is for the person to be a Jamaican citizen by birth or descent.
The criterion for citizenship by descent should be limited to 3 generations. And in this case, the nominee would be considered the 3rd generation, the parent of the nominee, the 2nd generation, and the grandparent of the nominee, the 1st generation. Therefore, the nominee's entitlement to citizenship by descent would be derived from no further than the grandparent. The prospective president is to be ordinarily resident in Jamaica and be permanently resident for at least 10 of the last 15 years preceding nomination. Not be under a duty of allegiance to a foreign power or foreign state by his or her own act and not another person's, and not be disqualified for election to the Parliament.
Meanwhile, the CRC has recommended a 2-step appointment process for the office of presidency. It is being proposed that the Prime Minister would nominate the President after consultation with the Leader of the Opposition. This will be followed by a parliamentary confirmation process.
So there is a recommendation for the appointment of the President in the event that there is no consensus between the Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition. Some are saying that if the provision were to be included, it may be license for no consensus to be achieved. The members of the CRC do not hold that view. We took a lot of time looking at this matter.
The Ministry of Finance has announced a phased transition to the Twin Peaks regulatory model of the financial sector. Under the Twin Peaks model, the Bank of Jamaica will supervise deposit-taking institutions, with the Financial Services Commission having oversight for non-bank financial institutions. The concept was first announced by the government in January 2023, with the aim of reforming and bolstering the oversight of the country's financial activities. In a statement to Parliament on Tuesday, Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clark announced that full implementation was expected to take place by 2026.
The Twin Peaks practice period is scheduled to commence in this quarter and will run through to the selected appointed date when Twin Peaks legislative changes come into effect. The Twin Peaks practice period, Madam Speaker, is intended to enable capacity building and closer collaboration between the regulators, pending the passage of the legislation to enable implementation of the Twin Peaks model.
Minister Clark says a legal framework or concept paper is approved and a cabinet submission will be made shortly ahead of drafting instructions to give effect to the model. He adds that the practice period is necessary to ensure a seamless transition once the anticipated framework changes are ratified.
The objective of the practice period is to prepare team members for Twin Peaks implementation by providing opportunities for real-world experience in the supervision and regulation of DTIs and non-DTIs within the constraints of existing regulatory frameworks.
Meanwhile, fines for banks that fail to comply with the newly introduced minimum service standards for automated banking machines, ABMs, are being included in legislation being drafted for the Twin Peaks model.
The laws governing BOJ and FSC do not at the present time provide them with the legal authority to enforce such standards related to consumer protection through the imposition of fines. It is proposed that this will be addressed under the legislative changes proposed under the Twin Peaks model.
The minister reveals that since the publication of new ABM guidelines in April, there has been a marked improvement in the level of service customers are receiving at the machines. Bid proposals will be sent out this week to the 5 international companies that have been pre-qualified under the Spark program. They were shortlisted from a pool of 8 companies that made submissions, 2 of which were local firms. Minister with responsibility for works, Robert Morgan, says the bid proposals are for 4 packages across the island. He was speaking earlier today at the post-cabinet press briefing.
We expect those bid proposals to be returned by mid-August, and then we will seek approval from the Public Procurement Commission as well as Cabinet to award contracts by the end of September this year. These contracts will be for 2 years with an additional year for defects liability, as well as where the contractor would be carrying out corrective measures if there are challenges with the completed works.
Minister Morgan says 24 community consultation meetings have been held across 21 constituencies and a priority listing of roads has been developed. He says inspections and rapid assessments will be undertaken to determine the preliminary cost to rehabilitate these roads.
Importantly, we have also sent a list to the National Water Commission to determine the needs and status of water lines on these roads, and preliminary costs will be shared with the CDF to determine the final priority list per constituency for the initial $1 million allocation. So it is split into 2. For the first year, $150 million for members of parliament and constituencies based on the consultation, which is about $10 billion, and then another $10 billion in the first year for national roads, NWA roads that are main roads but are not community roads.
Minister Morgan says 60 main roads have been selected by the National Works Agency NWA for repairs under the Spark program. Spark is the government's Shared Prosperity Through Accelerated Improvement program, where $20 billion will be used to fix community roads and another $20 billion for main roads. And finally, the government will continue to strengthen the country's forensic science services as a vital part of the criminal justice system. Minister of National Security Dr. Horace Chang reiterated the commitment during the Caribbean Association of Forensic Sciences CAF's conference on Monday. Dr. Chang says the merging of 2 entities to create the Institute of Forensic Science and Legal Medicine demonstrates the need to provide strong, effective forensic science and service to the criminal justice system.
Jamaica has come a long way in strengthening its forensic science service. This institute has been effectively equipped with the most modern equipment. We are building a modern autopsy suite, and we have a high-quality forensic ballistic center.
This not only serves as a database for crime, but also as a national DNA database. Further plans for strengthening include putting in place a firearm registry, where every firearm entering the country will be logged by the manufacturer's serial number and also be engraved with a serial number assigned by the Firearm Licensing Authority, FLA.
Later this year, when we open the autopsy suite, we will have indeed one of the finest institutes of the sort in the Caribbean and in this part of the world. I hope we'll be available to share knowledge with our colleagues in the Caribbean and also to provide a facility that can provide quality training.
Dr. Chang says the ministry will be working closely with not only colleagues across the Caribbean, but also universities to develop a pool of individuals in the police force and beyond who are qualified in forensic science and legal medicine. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Lisa Rowe. Thanks for watching.